On our wedding day, my bridesmaid decided to test Carter with 3 simple questions. Before the ceremony, I thought he'd ace them easily. I never expected him to get the very first one wrong. What's Chloe's shoe size? Without a second thought, he blurted out, size 6. What's her favorite color? Blue. An awkward silence fell over the bridal suite. Everyone exchanged nervous glances. He was wrong on both. Then came the final question. What year did Chloe graduate from college? Everyone relaxed, thinking there was no way he could mess this up. After all, we were college sweethearts. 2013, Carter said confidently. I made her a custom pair of crystal heels as a graduation gift. That year. I'm 100% sure. My gaze drifted to Haley, my maid of honor, who was wearing a dusty, blue bridesmaid dress and sparkling crystal heels. She bit her lip, whispering to Carter in a small, tense voice, Chloe graduated in 2012. I was the one who graduated in 2013. In that split second, everything clicked. The last lingering doubt in my heart vanished. I let out a cold, quiet laugh, looked down at my phone and texted my parents. Mom, Dad, get the car ready. I'm calling off the wedding. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. My bad. I mixed up the years. It was 2012. Carter corrected himself coldly, acting as if it was no big deal. Haley quickly forced a smile to break the tension. Chloe, Carter's just been super stressed about the wedding planning lately. It's normal to get a little confused. Don't make a scene. All our friends and family are waiting downstairs. Instantly, the other bridesmaids chimed in, trying to appease me. Yeah, babe. It's your big day. Smile a little. You can punish him tonight. Don't let a silly mistake ruin the ceremony. I thought I was overreacting, but only I knew that Carter had changed. Years ago, if I so much as frowned, he would immediately panic, doing whatever it took, buying me gifts, telling stupid jokes just to make me smile. But now his eyes were glued to my best friend, and he couldn't seem to look away. Fine, let's go, I said. I didn't want to make things awkward for the guests, who had flown in from across the country. I followed the itinerary and let Carter carry me out to the car. He lifted me, he laughed and said, have you been stress eating lately? You definitely feel heavier than 110 pounds. 110 pounds. That was Haley's weight. She had just bragged about it on her Insta yesterday. Have you been carrying someone who weighs 110 pounds lately? I asked casually. Carter stiffened. He quickly shook his head. Of course not. Don't be paranoid. Right then Haley jumped in, eager to clarify. Oh. Actually, I'm 120 pounds now. So it's definitely not me. I looked down, hiding my moxie off. Guilty people always scream the loudest. But I didn't call them out. I wanted to see how long they could keep up this pathetic show. Inside the cramped sports car, Haley insisted on squeezing in, sitting right between Carter and me. You don't mind, do you, Chloe? The other shuttle cars are totally full. Let's just squeeze. I didn't say a word the entire ride. Haley chattered away, looking far more excited than the actual bride. And Carter answered her every word. It made me feel like the third wheel at my own wedding. As we rounded a corner, Haley suddenly tapped Carter's shoulder. Carter, I'm dying for those honey lavender cupcakes from that bakery uptown. Sure, I'll grab some for you. With that, Carter spun the steering wheel, taking a sharp turn, in the exact opposite direction of the wedding venue. My brows furrowed. Carter, stop. We don't have time. That bakery is 10 miles away. The ceremony starts in an hour. We're going to be late. He glared at me through the rear-view mirror. It's on the way. Buying cupcakes takes 2 minutes. You're just being petty because of those trivia questions. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood, clenching my fist to keep from crying. When he got my graduation year wrong, and I stayed quiet, I was ruining the mood. But when Haley wanted cupcakes from across town, it was on the way. Fine. If he wasn't in a rush, neither was I. After all, I had no intention of marrying him. Anyway, my phone buzzed. A text from my parents. Sweetheart, the SUV is parked by the side entrance of the venue. We're ready when you are. I don't care for sweets. So, I just stood near the bakery entrance watching them. The baker was incredibly friendly and offered Haley a sample of their new flavor. Haven't seen you and your boyfriend in a while. You guys look so fancy today. Going to a gala. Haley blushed, pointing a manicured finger toward me. Oh no, it's my best friend's wedding today. I'm her maid of honor. The baker's smile froze. He looked back and forth between the three of us, expression turning highly uncomfortable. Oh, my bad. He apologized awkwardly. You two come in for afternoon tea so often. I just assumed you were a couple. I didn't realize there was a third party. The third party he was referring to was, without a doubt, me. I waited for Carter to speak up and defend me, but he didn't. Didn't care at all. Instead, he bought every single flavor of cupcakes they had, walking out with 3 giant shopping bags. I made one passing comment, Don't waste food if you can't finish them. And just like that, Haley burst into tears. Chloe, I know this isn't about the cupcakes, she sobbed, sounding incredibly fragile. You're just mad because Carter spent money on me. I'm so sorry. She shakily pulled $200 bills from her purse and tried to force them into my hand. That was the final straw for Carter's patience. His jaw tightened and he looked at me with pure disgust. Chloe, do you have any sense of the bigger picture? It's our wedding day and you're choosing now to throw a tantrum. Haley is your best friend. It's completely normal for me to buy her some treats. Normal? I looked at her. I wanted to laugh. LV bag on her shoulder, the Cartier necklace she was wearing, the designer heels on her feet. Carter had bought every single one of them. Meanwhile, in our 7 years of dating, the most expensive gift I had ever received from him was the electric toothbrush. Even the outdated wedding dress I was wearing today was a cheap rental. I paid for myself. I had never asked Carter for a single dime. I used to think that by not caring about his money, I would get his pure, unadulterated love. How naive. In the end, I got neither. Carter, don't blame Chloe, Haley pleaded, playing the saint. It's her first time being a bride, so she's probably just anxious. Please don't fight because of me. You know, my parents got a messy divorce. And all I want is for you guys to be happy. Stared at Haley. In that moment, my heart felt like it was being stabbed by 1,000 needles. The year her parents divorced, she couldn't sleep for months. I was the one who stayed up with her, cooked for her, washed her clothes, and held her hand through her darkest times. I never expected her to stab me in the back like this. Yeah, whatever you say, I murmured. It took me a long time to pull myself out of my memories. By the time my vision cleared, the tears on my face had already dried. Back in the car, silence fell over us. But it didn't last long because Haley was thirsty again. Carter, these cupcakes are kind of dry. I really need an iced matcha latte. Her voice got quieter with every word, her eyes darting to my face to check my reaction. But my face was blank. Carter hesitated for a second. Haley, we are actually running really late. But he quickly pivoted. If you're thirsty, let's grab one fast. Just then, Carter's phone started ringing off the hook. Carter, where the hell are you? The guests are all seated. We're just waiting on you and Chloe. Carter ignored the calls, hit the gas, and sped toward the nearest Starbucks. When he and Haley came back to the car, there was a bright red mark on Carter's neck. Noticing my stare, panic flashed through his eyes, and he quickly covered it with his hand. Bugs around here are crazy. Haley blushed and nodded. Yeah, Chloe, the mosquitoes are so bad. You don't think it's something else, do you? I shook my head. Must be a really desperate female mosquito, biting people like a shameless animal. Their faces instantly turned pale. Excuse me, I need a cigarette, Carter muttered, stepping out of the car. A few yards away from the car, Carter looked incredibly anxious. He whispered to Haley, do you think she knows? Haley took the cigarette right out of his mouth and took a drag. No way. She loves you too much. Even if she suspects something, she'll forgive you. I know her. She's soft-hearted. Years ago when I got dumped, she literally skipped her finals and flew 1,000 miles. Just to comfort me. I didn't want to hurt her either, but I fell for you. Her sweet words were too much for. Carter blushed all the way down to his collar. I watched them through the tinted car window. Their silhouettes stretched by the afternoon sun looked so intimate. The two people I loved most in the world had hurt me the deepest. I had spent years catering to them. It was time to wake up. I looked down and called the HR director of my family's conglomerate, Vance Group. Hi, Audrey. You asked me what I wanted as a wedding gift, right? I want you to fire Haley effective immediately. Because she had failed multiple classes in college, Haley couldn't find a decent job after graduation. I practically begged my father to pull strings and get her into Vance Group. In just 3 years, she went from a receptionist to a junior project manager, her salary jumping from $40K to $150K. I paved every single step of her career. But to protect her fragile ego, I kept my family's identity a secret, letting her believe she achieved it all on her own merit. Now it was time to take back what was mine. When Carter got back in the car, perhaps out of guilt, he handed me a cup of black coffee. I grabbed this while waiting for the matcha. I know you hate sweet drinks. I didn't take it. He shook the cup, getting annoyed. Take it. We don't have time for this. I ignored him. Are you seriously still throwing a fit over some cupcakes and matcha? She's your best friend. Are you even human being this jealous of her? Carter was always so incredibly harsh with me. He would never dream of speaking to Haley like this. Chloe, I've been exhausted for weeks planning this wedding. Can you please grow up? Don't make me deal with your attitude on my wedding day. I nodded, swallowing my tears. Thank you. My voice was polite, cold and distant, but it seemed to reassure Carter. He relaxed, turned on the radio and laughed with Haley all the way to the venue. He didn't notice the black Maybach, parked near the side entrance of the hotel. He should have recognized the license plate. It belonged to my family. But his eyes were only on Haley, who had just tripped on her dress. "Haley, are you okay?" Haley pouted, looking pitiful. "This bridesmaid dress is too long." I tripped. Carter shot me a glaring look. "This is your fault. Why did you have to pick such a long style?" He forgot that Haley was the one who insisted on this specific design. "She's hurt. I'll carry her to the bridal suite first. Find your own way up." Before I could answer, he swept Haley into his arms and walked straight toward the elevator. I gathered up my heavy train and slowly made my way to the bridal suite. I could have left right then, but if I was going to run, I had to take my makeup artist with me. I was the one paying her after all. When I finally pushed the door open, the scene inside shocked me. The celebrity makeup artist I had booked 2 years in advance was currently being scolded by Carter, like a child. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. "Perfect timing," Carter said, dumping a pile of cosmetics onto the vanity. "Haley said you gave the artist a different contract. You used the premium high-end products for yourself and left her with cheap knockoff brands." I stared at them speechless. What kind of drama was this? Now Haley wiped her eyes, fake apologizing. "I'm sorry, Chloe. I shouldn't have said anything. I didn't mean to steal your spotlight. I'll just go wash my face. I can go bare-faced for the wedding." "Really?" I scuffed. I never told the artist to do that, and I would never do something so petty. But Carter didn't believe me. He thought I was just acting out. "Chloe, this reverse psychology is getting pathetic. Do you really think playing hard to get is going to make me beg for your forgiveness?" I shook my head. "I don't need you to beg. What is up with your attitude? Just because I got Haley some treats, you do this, you made her cry. You need to apologize to her right now." "Why should I apologize for something I didn't do?" Frustrated, Carter gripped my shoulders. His grip was so tight it bruised. "Chloe, I don't have time for your games. The ceremony starts in 30 minutes. Apologize now or I'm calling off this wedding." I smiled for the first time today. A real smile spread across my face. Carter still thought he could threaten me. He had no idea. I didn't care anymore. "Okay." My nonchalant response pissed him off even more. He was about to yell when Haley quickly stopped him. "Carter, please don't. It's your wedding day. It's all my fault. Go downstairs and greet the guests. I'll handle things here." Carter hesitated, then nodded before leaving. He gave me one last disappointed look. "Why can't you be more mature like Haley?" As soon as the door closed, I turned to my makeup artist and whispered a few words. She immediately started packing up her kit. Haley, thinking we were just moving to another room, waved her hand dismissively. "Whatever. I don't care. Let her get her makeup done first." The makeup artist just rolled her eyes at Haley's delusion. 30 minutes later, the grand ballroom was filled with music and laughter. The officiant gave a beautiful opening speech, then looked toward the grand entrance with excitement. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our beautiful bride." 3. Under the spotlight, Carter nervously adjusted his bow tie. 2. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple, as he probably pictured our future together. 1. The heavy door swung open, but there was no one there. The officiant gasped, looking at Carter's back, and whispered, Where is the bride?" Carter spun around. The hallway was completely empty. In that moment, sheer panic set in. I wasn't there to see the look on Carter's face, but I could easily picture it. The sudden, suffocating realization that the quiet, soft-hearted girl he had taken for granted for 7 years had finally walked away. By the time the heavy oak doors of the ballroom swung open to reveal nothing but a draft of cold air, I was already standing by the hotel's side exit. The heavy, cheap lace of my rented wedding dress dragged against the gravel, making a dry, scratching sound that felt like sand in a wound. It was a dress I had chosen because Carter had complained about the budget, claiming we needed to save every penny for our future. Now, looking at the fabric, I felt nothing but a profound, icy disgust. A sleek black Maybach was idling quietly in the shadow of the brick wall. The rear door clicked open, and my father's personal driver, Thomas, stepped out. He didn't say a word about the white veil trailing from my hair or the faint smudge of mascara beneath my eyes. He simply bowed his head respectfully. "Miss Vance," he said softly, "your parents are waiting." I climbed into the spacious, leather-scented interior of the car. The moment the door sealed shut, the muffled sounds of the hotel, the distant, frantic classical music, the murmurs of the staff, vanished completely. My mother, Eleanor, was sitting on the plush leather seat, a soft cashmere wrap draped over her arm. Her eyes, usually so sharp and formidable in the boardroom of the Vance Group, softened into pure, fierce maternal protection. She didn't ask me if I was okay. She didn't ask me if I was sure. She knew me. "Strip that cheap polyester off, sweetheart," my mother murmured, handing me a garment bag. "I brought you something real." Inside the bag was a simple, bias-cut emerald green silk slip dress, heavy and fluid as water. My father, Richard, sat opposite us, his face a mask of quiet, controlled rage. He reached over, gently taking the tacky rhinestone veil from my head and tossing it onto the floor of the Maybach. Audrey called, my father said, his voice deep and steady. The termination papers for Haley have been signed. The HR audit on her accounts is already underway. Thank you, Dad, I whispered, unzipping the rented wedding gown. I stepped out of the cheap, scratchy fabric, leaving it crumpled on the floor like a shed snakeskin, and slipped into the cool, comforting embrace of the emerald silk. It felt like breathing again after a long, suffocating sleep. As the Maybach glided smoothly away from the hotel, my phone began to vibrate violently in my lap. Carter. I didn't answer. I watched the screen light up, name after name, message after message. Chloe, where the hell are you? The coordinator is panicking. People are looking at me. Chloe, this isn't funny. If you're doing this because of the cupcakes, you're being incredibly childish. Come back right now. Are you trying to embarrass me? My parents are here. Then, a call from Sarah, one of the bridesmaids who hadn't been part of Haley's little circle. Out of curiosity, I pressed answer and put it on speaker. Chloe. Sarah's voice was breathless, punctuated by the faint, chaotic noise of shouting in the background. Where are you? The doors opened and nobody was there. Carter is screaming at the venue coordinator, and Haley, oh my God, Chloe. Haley is crying on the floor saying you ran away because you're jealous of her. I leaned back against the headrest, a quiet, cold smile spreading across my lips. I didn't run away, Sarah. I simply chose not to attend. But what about the reception? Sarah stammered. The hotel manager just came out. He told Carter that the final payment authorization was declined. He said the card on file was canceled. It was, I said smoothly. I canceled the authorization 10 minutes ago. Since the wedding is off, I have no obligation to pay for a party I won't be attending. Chloe, that bill is almost $80,000. Sarah gasped. They're refusing to bring out the food or open the bar until someone swipes a card. Carter is turning purple. He's trying to call you, but you're not answering. He has Haley's hand to hold, I replied. I'm sure they can figure out how to pay for it together. Goodbye, Sarah. I hung up and blocked Carter's number. Then I blocked Haley's. Beside me, my father let out a quiet, dark chuckle. $80,000. Let's see how his senior associate's salary handles a sudden debt of that size. It won't, I said, because he doesn't have it. I knew exactly what Carter's finances looked like. He had spent the last year bragging about his investments and his rising status at Stone & Associates, an architectural firm that had been struggling until recently. What Carter didn't know, what I had deliberately kept from him, was that Stone & Associates had only survived because the Vance Group had quietly steered a massive, multi-million-dollar commercial contract their way. My father had done it as a favor to me, to ensure my future husband would have a secure, thriving career. Carter thought he had won the contract on his own merit. He had used his impending partnership at the firm as an excuse to buy Haley a Cartier necklace, an LV bag, and designer heels, all while telling me we needed to live modestly, to build a life together. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email notification. It was an automated system alert from Vance Group's employee portal, CCing me as the executive vice president. Notification of immediate termination. Haley Miller. Reason: material misrepresentation on employment application and unauthorized use of corporate assets. It started. I murmured. At that exact moment, back at the hotel, Haley's world was about to implode. We drove to the Obsidian Room, a private, members-only club perched on the top floor of a skyscraper downtown, overlooking the city's skyline. It was a place where the city's true elite gathered, a place Carter had tried to get reservations for dozens of times, only to be repeatedly denied because his social standing wasn't even a fraction of what was required. As we sat at our private table, the city lights beginning to twinkle below us like scattered diamonds, my father's assistant, Audrey, walked in. She was holding a slim leather folder. Good evening, Mr. Vance, Mrs. Vance. Chloe, Audrey said, offering me a warm, supportive smile. I believe you'll find the latest updates satisfying. Sit, Audrey, my mother said, gesturing to a chair. Tell us. Audrey sat and opened the folder. First, regarding Haley Miller. The moment the termination email was sent, our IT department remotely locked her out of all Vance Group databases. Her corporate email, her Slack, and her access badges have been deactivated. Furthermore, the luxury apartment she resides in downtown is owned by a subsidiary of Vance Group. It was leased to her under a corporate housing program that Chloe personally authorized. The termination of her employment automatically triggers the termination of the lease. She has been sent a legal notice to vacate the premises by noon tomorrow. I took a slow sip of my white wine. The crisp, cold vintage tasted infinitely better than the cheap champagne Carter had selected for our wedding toast. And the car? The corporate leased Audi A for she was driving? We tracked the GPS. Audrey smiled, a sharp, professional glint in her eye. It was parked in the hotel valet. A flatbed tow truck repossessed it 30 minutes ago. She will have to find her own way home from the venue. Assuming, of course, she has a home to go to. What about Carter? My father asked, his expression hard. Mr. Evans is currently in a state of complete panic, Audrey reported. The hotel manager, who is well aware of the Vance family's ownership of the hospitality group, did exactly as instructed. He informed Mr. Evans that unless the $80,000 balance was settled immediately, the police would be called for services rendered and unpaid. Carter tried to pay with his personal credit cards, but they were all declined. Apparently, he has maxed out his credit limits recently. On designer bags and crystal heels, I remarked quietly. Precisely, Audrey nodded. In the end, his parents had to empty their retirement savings to draft an emergency wire transfer just to keep their son from being arrested in his tuxedo. The guests have all been sent home. The wedding is officially a public disaster. I closed my eyes for a brief second. A faint, lingering ache brushed against my chest, the memory of a boy who once ran through a rainstorm just to bring me medicine when I had a fever. But that boy was a ghost, a fiction I had clung to for far too long. The real Carter was a greedy, arrogant man who had used my love as a doormat while feeding off my family's wealth without even knowing it. And his firm, my father prompted. I personally called Thomas Stone, the managing partner of Stone and Associates, 10 minutes ago, Audrey said. I informed him that due to a sudden realignment of Vance Group's commercial portfolio, we are officially pulling out of the Vance Plaza development project. I also let slip that the decision was heavily influenced by the unethical personal conduct of their senior associate, Carter Evans. I looked out the window at the sprawling city. How did Stone react? He was horrified, Chloe. He knows that losing the Vance Plaza project will bankrupt his firm. He assured me he would handle Mr. Evans immediately. Good, my father said, raising his glass. To new beginnings, my beautiful daughter. I clinked my glass against his. To new beginnings. The next morning, I woke up in my penthouse apartment. It was a stunning, light-filled space with floor-to-ceiling windows, located in the most prestigious building in the city. For the past 3 years, I had lived with Carter in a cramped, 2-bedroom apartment that he insisted was all we could afford. I had let him believe I was living on a modest salary from a mid-level office job, wanting to ensure that our relationship was built on love, not my family's billions. I had kept this penthouse empty, a secret sanctuary I never thought I would need to use. Now, sitting on my Italian leather sofa in a silk robe, sipping espresso, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. My peace was interrupted by a frantic knocking at my door. I didn't have to guess who it was. The building's front desk had called me earlier, informing me that a man matching Carter's description was downstairs, begging the concierge to let him up. I had told the security team to let him come. It was time for the final act. I walked over to the door, unlocked it, and pulled it open. Carter was standing in the hallway. He looked pathetic. He was still wearing his wedding trousers, but his shirt was wrinkled and unbuttoned at the collar, and his hair was a wild, messy bird's nest. His eyes were bloodshot, dark bags hanging heavily beneath them. When he saw me, a mixture of rage and desperate relief flashed across his face. Chloe, he burst out, lunging forward as if to grab my shoulders. I stepped back smoothly, leaving him stumbling into the foyer. Where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea what you did to me yesterday? You ruined my life. You embarrassed my family. My parents had to pay $80,000 because of your childish little stunt. I closed the door behind him and leaned against the wall, crossing my arms. My face was completely devoid of emotion. I told you I was calling off the wedding, Carter, I said, my voice quiet and steady. You chose not to believe me. Over cupcakes? He screamed, his voice cracking. Over a stupid joke about your weight? Over a mistake with a graduation year? Are you seriously that fragile, Chloe? You threw away 7 years of dating over a minor misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Carter. You were sleeping with my best friend. The words hung in the quiet, luxurious air of the penthouse. Carter's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The rage in his eyes instantly dissolved into a cold, paralyzing terror. What? He stammered, his face turning an ashen gray. What are you talking about? That's insane. Haley is your best friend. She was just comforting me because of the stress of the wedding. Save it, I interrupted, raising a hand. I saw the red mark on your neck yesterday. I heard you talking to her outside the car while you were smoking. I know about the Cartier necklace. I know about the LV bag. I know about the designer heels. You bought her all of those things, didn't you? While you made me rent a cheap, outdated wedding dress because you claimed we were struggling financially. Carter's knees seemed to buckle. He looked around the penthouse, his eyes finally registering the sheer scale of the luxury surrounding him, the high-end art on the walls, the designer furniture, the breathtaking panoramic view of the city. Where are we? He whispered, his voice trembling. Whose apartment is this, Chloe? Did you cheat on me? Is this some rich guy's place? I let out a soft, genuine laugh. No, Carter. This is my apartment. I bought it 3 years ago. But your dad is just a retired high school teacher, and you're an office administrator? His voice trailed off as the pieces began to slowly fall into place in his mind. The Vance Group, Audrey. My father is Richard Vance, I said, taking a step toward him. I am the sole heiress to the Vance Group conglomerate. The company you've been desperately trying to secure a contract with for the past year? That's my family's company. The only reason your firm, Stone and Associates, was even considered for the Vance Plaza project was because I asked my father to give you a hand. Carter stared at me, his eyes wide with a horror so profound it was almost comical. You're a Vance? He whispered. Why? Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not my father's bank account, I said coldly. And thank God I did, because it allowed me to see exactly who you are. A cheap, greedy parasite who would throw away 7 years of devotion for a girl who flattered your fragile ego. Chloe, please. Carter fell to his knees, tears finally spilling over his cheeks. He reached out to grab the hem of my silk robe, but I stepped back, looking down at him with nothing but pity. I made a mistake. I swear to you, it was a mistake. Haley seduced me. She kept telling me how stressed I looked, how you didn't appreciate me. I was weak. Chloe, please, you know me. I love you. We've been together for 7 years. We can fix this. We can get married today. Just the two of us. Get up, Carter. You're embarrassing yourself, I said, disgust dripping from my voice. I can't lose the partnership, Chloe, he cried, his voice rising in panic. Thomas Stone called me this morning. He said the Vance Plaza project is gone. He said if I don't get the contract back, I'm fired. They're going to sue me for breach of contract and loss of business. Please, just talk to your dad. Tell him it was a misunderstanding. I will do no such thing, I said. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. Just then, my doorbell rang again. I walked past Carter, who was sobbing on the floor, and opened the door. Haley was standing there. She looked even worse than Carter. Her dusty blue bridesmaid dress was stained with grease, her makeup was smeared across her face, and she was clutching her designer purse as if it were a lifeline. Her sparkling crystal heels, the ones I had supposedly bought her as a graduation gift, were scuffed and dirty. Chloe, she cried, pushing past me into the apartment. You have to help me. The police, they came to my apartment. They said I'm being evicted. And my car? They towed my car right out of the hotel. And HR, they fired me, Chloe. They said I committed resume fraud. I didn't commit fraud. You know I graduated. You have to talk to them. You have to tell them. She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw Carter kneeling on the floor, weeping. She looked from Carter to me and then slowly looked around the breathtaking penthouse. What is this place? Haley whispered, her voice cracking. Chloe, what's going on? The game is over, Haley, I said, closing the door and leaning against it. I know about the two of you. Haley's face drained of color. She dropped her purse, the heavy leather hitting the hardwood floor with a dull thud. Chloe, I can explain, she stammered, her voice instantly shifting into the fragile, victimized tone she had used to manipulate me for years. It wasn't what you think. Carter was so lonely, and you were always so busy with work. I just wanted to help him. I didn't want to hurt you, Chloe. You're my best friend. You know how my parents' divorce affected me. I just wanted. Stop, I said, my voice cutting through her lies like a knife. Don't you dare bring up your parents' divorce to justify your parasitic behavior. I spent years picking up your pieces, Haley. I paid your rent when you couldn't find a job. I practically begged my father to get you into the Vance Group. I gave you a career, a lifestyle, and a home. And this is how you repay me? Haley's eyes widened. Your father got me the job? You're a Vance? Yes, I said. And everything you have, your job, your apartment, your career, was a gift from me. A gift I have officially decided to take back. No, you can't do this. Haley screamed, her fragile saint act completely evaporating, replaced by an ugly, desperate rage. You ruined my life. I worked hard for that job. You can't just fire me because you're jealous. Actually, I can, I said smoothly. And I did. Chloe, please, Carter begged, crawling toward me on his knees. I'll do anything. I'll cut Haley off completely. I'll never speak to her again. She means nothing to me, I swear. She's just a parasite. She kept asking me for money, begging me to buy her things. What did you just say? Haley shrieked, turning on Carter with her claws out. I'm a parasite? You're the one who came begging to my apartment. You're the one who told me Chloe was a boring, plain prude who didn't know how to please a man. You're the one who promised me you'd leave her after you secured the Vance contract. Shut up, Haley. Carter yelled back, his face red with fury. You ruined everything. If it weren't for you, I'd be married to the Vance heiress right now. You're a gold-digging whore. You're a pathetic loser. Haley screamed, throwing her heavy designer purse at his head. I stood by the door, watching them scream and tear each other apart in the middle of my beautiful living room. The two people who had spent years making me feel small, making me doubt myself, were now reduced to rabid dogs fighting over scraps in the dirt. I felt no anger. I felt no sorrow. I only felt an immense, weightless freedom. Thomas, I said quietly into my smartwatch. Within seconds, the door opened and 3 heavy-set security guards from the building's lobby stepped into the penthouse. Please escort these 2 out of the building, I said to the guards. And make sure they are blacklisted from the property permanently.
No.
Chloe, please. Carter screamed as the guards grabbed him by the arms, dragging him toward the door. I love you, Chloe. You're a monster, Chloe. Haley shrieked, her fingernails clawing at the guard's grip. You think you're better than me? You'll always be alone. I didn't answer. I simply stood there, a serene, quiet smile on my face as the heavy door clicked shut behind them. The silence that followed was beautiful. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows, the warm morning sun spilling over my emerald green dress. I picked up my cup of espresso, took a slow, quiet sip, and looked out over the city. For the first time in 7 years, I was completely, beautifully free.